She thought she was safe when she told the cowboy she could not have children, but what he said next turned that quiet night into a nightmare you will never forget. She said, "I cannot have children." The words hung in the air like dust caught in the dying light of evening. The cowboy smiled, slow and easy, his eyes hidden beneath the brim of his hat. "Good," he said. "I have enough kids for both." The fire cracked between them, a sharp pop echoing through the quiet barn. Her heart stumbled, a single missed beat that sent a cold rush through her chest. She tried to laugh, but it came out thin, like paper tearing. He leaned back on the wooden stool, the boards creaking beneath his weight. Outside, the wind scraped across the dry grass, whispering along the fence line. "How many?" she asked, her voice smaller than she meant it to be. He looked at her then, really looked, and she saw something behind his smile. Something patient. Something heavy. "Too many to count," he said. The lantern light flickered, stretching shadows up the walls like long, reaching fingers. Her hands trembled in her lap, though she tried to keep them still. The smell of hay and old leather wrapped around her, thick and suffocating. He stood, slow as dusk, and the floorboards groaned beneath his boots. "Do they all live here?" she asked, barely above a whisper. He nodded once. "They do now." From somewhere above, in the hayloft, came the faint sound of movement. A soft scuffle. A breath. A child's giggle that did not sound entirely alive. She turned toward the sound, her pulse loud in her ears. The cowboy reached for the lantern and lifted it high. Light spread across the rafters. And she saw them. Small faces peering through the hay. Eyes wide. Unblinking. Every one of them smiling just like him. He set the lantern down and stepped closer. "They get lonely," he said. "And they like new family." The air thickened, heavy with the scent of smoke and something else, something sweet, almost rotten. She tried to stand, but her legs refused to obey. His shadow fell across her, long and dark, swallowing the last of the light. Then one of the children whispered from above. "Can we keep her?" He smiled again, slow as the coming night. "She said she cannot have children," he murmured. "So we will have her instead." She opened her mouth to scream. But all that came out was the echo of a laugh that did not belong to her. The laugh rippled through the barn, high and thin, bouncing off the rafters like the sound of something breaking. Her throat burned, but no sound followed, only that laughter, threading through the dark. The cowboy tilted his head, watching her with calm, steady eyes. He did not move closer. He did not need to. The children were already climbing down. Their small hands clutched at the beams, at ropes, at one another. The hay rustled like dry bones brushing together. She saw their faces more clearly now. Some were pale as dust. Some streaked with dirt and something darker. None of them blinked. They moved in silence, except for the soft, eager hum that rose as they gathered. The cowboy watched them with pride, his grin spreading wider. "See," he said. "They like you already." Her hands groped for the edge of the stool, for anything solid, anything real. Her fingers brushed against cold metal, an old horseshoe nailed to the floorboard. She tried to pull herself up, but her knees buckled beneath her. The children circled, bare feet patting softly on the wood. Their eyes glowed faintly in the lantern light, like candle flames inside glass. One of them reached out and touched her hair. "Warm," the child whispered. Another giggled, teeth small and too sharp. The cowboy crouched beside her, boots creaking. He smelled of tobacco and dust and something that stung the back of her throat. "Do not be afraid," he said softly. "They just want a mother." Her heart thundered in her chest. "I am not," she began, but the words froze halfway up her throat. The lantern flickered again, once, twice, and then dimmed. Darkness folded over them like a heavy blanket. In that blackness, she felt fingers close around her wrists, small, countless fingers, pulling her down. The cowboy's voice drifted through the dark, calm as a prayer. "It is better this way," he said. "They never stay quiet for long. Then came the sound, soft, rhythmic, like a lullaby hummed through teeth. A song rising from many mouths. A cradle song without words. And beneath it, the faintest scrape of something being dragged across the floor. The smell of earth filled the barn. Damp. Cold. The sound came again, closer. Something shifted in the shadows behind her, something larger than the children. The cowboy rose to his full height. "Now," he said gently, "let us make room." The barn shuddered, a long groan from its beams as if the wood itself protested. She could hear the shuffle of the children moving aside, the hush of their breathing thick with anticipation. Her pulse pounded in her ears, wild and uneven, drowning out everything else. "Make room," the cowboy said again, his voice low and certain. Something heavy slid across the floor. A dull thud followed. The scent of damp earth grew stronger, wet soil, roots, and something metallic underneath. Her eyes strained against the dark. The lantern's faint glow caught on a shape near the back wall. It was a mound. The soil was freshly turned. The shovel leaned against it, the blade slick with mud. Her breath caught. The cowboy noticed. He smiled, slow and easy, that same quiet smile that now looked like a wound. "They all have a place," he said. "A home. You will too." Her hands trembled. Her voice scraped its way out. "You buried them." He tilted his head. "No," he said. "They stay with me. Always." A sound rippled through the barn, a low hum, like wind through wires. Then, one by one, the children began to sway. Their bodies moved in unison, a slow rocking motion, heads tilting toward her. Their eyes shone brighter now, too bright, too wide. She stumbled backward, feet tangling in the hay. The ground beneath her felt soft, almost hollow. When she looked down, she saw the outline of a small handprint pressed into the dirt. Then another. And another. Dozens of them. She gasped, the air tearing in her lungs. The cowboy stepped forward. The lantern's light flickered once more, washing over his face. His eyes caught the glow, flat, glassy, the color of still water. "They miss their mother," he whispered. The children's humming grew louder, the melody winding around her like a rope. The mound of soil began to shift. A tiny hand broke through the surface. Then another. Then a face, pale and wet with earth, turning toward her with a slow, dreamlike motion. The child smiled, lips caked with soil. "Papa," it whispered. The cowboy knelt beside it, brushing dirt from its cheek with the back of his hand. "Good girl," he said softly. "You can meet her now." The others crowded closer, their whispers threading through the dark. "Stay. Mother. Forever." The soil at her feet began to move. It was breathing. And as she fell backward into it, she realized the earth was not cold at all. It was warm. Alive. Waiting. The warmth rose up around her, thick and clinging, like hands made of soil and breath. She tried to push free, but the ground pulled tighter, drawing her down inch by inch. The children's faces hovered above her, pale moons in the trembling lantern light. Their voices merged into a single sound, soft and low, a hum that vibrated through her bones. The cowboy stood over her, his silhouette framed by the dim glow. His shadow stretched long across the dirt, reaching for her as if it too were alive. "You see now," he said, his tone almost tender. "This land keeps what it is given." The smell of earth filled her mouth, bitter and sweet, coating her tongue. Her fingers clawed through the dirt, catching on something soft, fabric, hair, skin. A body. Small. Cold. Still. She screamed, but it came out as a muffled gasp swallowed by the soil. The cowboy knelt beside her, one knee sinking into the dirt. His voice was a whisper near her ear. "They needed someone to sing to them," he said. "You have a kind voice." Her vision blurred, the edges of the world dimmed. Above her, the lantern flickered and went out. Darkness took everything but the sound of breathing, dozens of small breaths, in perfect rhythm. Something brushed against her face. A hand. Tiny fingers curling against her cheek. Sleep, one of them whispered. Stay with us. Her body trembled, every nerve fighting the pull, but the weight grew heavier, warmer, softer. It felt almost like an embrace. The cowboy began to hum now, low and steady, the same tune the children had sung. The earth rose higher over her chest. Her heartbeat slowed to match the rhythm. In the distance, thunder rolled across the plains, long and deep. Rain began to fall, tapping on the roof like 100 small fingers. The cowboy stood again, his voice barely audible above the storm. Every family needs roots, he said. The children's humming deepened. The rain soaked through the roof, dripping into the soil, turning it darker, heavier. Her breath came shallow, slow. She felt the world tilt, or maybe it was her sinking further still. The last thing she saw was the cowboy's smile, calm, certain, endless. Then his voice, soft as the rain. They always bloom better after the first storm. By morning, the storm had passed. The barn stood silent beneath a sky washed clean and pale. Sunlight spilled through the cracks in the roof, painting thin, golden lines across the floorboards. The smell of wet earth lingered, heavy and sweet. The cowboy stepped outside, his boots sinking slightly into the mud. The field stretched wide around him, glistening from the rain. Somewhere, a meadowlark called, its song clear and bright in the cool air. He turned back toward the barn, tipping his hat against the light. Inside, the children sat quietly in the shadows, their faces turned toward the sunbeams filtering through the boards. They looked peaceful now. Content. Their soft humming had faded to silence. Only the sound of the wind moved through the space, gentle, patient. The cowboy knelt beside the mound of fresh soil near the far wall. He brushed away a few stray leaves and placed something there, an old ribbon, pale pink and frayed at the edges. She sings for you now, he said softly. His voice was steady, almost kind. She will keep you warm. He stood again, dusting his hands against his jeans. For a moment, he listened, to the stillness, to the faint echo of a lullaby that seemed to hum through the walls. Then he smiled that slow, tired smile. Good family, he murmured. He walked out into the sunlight, the door creaking shut behind him. In the barn, the air shifted. The soil beneath the ribbon trembled, just once, as if something beneath it breathed. Then it was still. Outside, the cowboy climbed onto his horse and rode toward the horizon, the sound of hooves fading into the wind. Behind him, the barn stood quiet and golden in the morning light. And if anyone passed that way, they might have sworn they heard a soft voice singing from inside. A woman's voice. Gentle. Endless. Rocking the world to sleep,